Welcome back. You're watching What's Hot on CNBC TV 18. Now, the Supreme Court today has ruled that withholding tax obligation is applicable for foreign companies that employ expats working in India. That is where the salary is paid overseas for services rendered in India. Now, here's the background. In 2000, the Revenue Department pulled up a few Japanese companies for non-disclosure of salaries of their expat staff based in India. Even after they did, the department levied a penalty. So today, the court has ruled that they need not pay a penalty, but they are liable to pay withholding tax. On What's Hot tonight, we ask, what is the ramification of this ruling? To discuss this, we've got with us tax expert Mukesh Butani, partner at BMR Advisors. Mukesh, many thanks for joining us. Let me begin by asking you a specific question, Mukesh. What does this ruling really mean for those Japanese companies? We understand that they now don't need to pay a penalty since they have disclosed the salary of their expat staff. Is that right? But with the withholding tax obligation, that has been imposed on them. Have we got this right?
Well, there are two aspects. One is on the penalty aspect. What they have said is that since these were voluntary disclosures, there is no question of levying penalty. All the Japanese companies had won these cases at the Delhi tribunal level, and the Revenue Department went in appeal. They lost it at the Delhi High Court, and now the Supreme Court has also confirmed the High Court decision. Insofar as the withholding tax is concerned, some of the Japanese companies challenged the jurisdiction. They said, how can you have a Japanese company which is discharging its payroll obligation in Japan be subjected to an Indian withholding tax requirement? To that, the Supreme Court has said that it doesn't matter the fact that these obligations had to be discharged in Japan. The fact that these salaries were liable to be taxed in India, withholding tax obligation will equally apply.
Mukesh, does this principle apply to the Vodafone case? We understand that the court made a mention of the Vodafone case as well.
The court has made an observation that this principle cannot be cited for Vodafone. Now, there are similarities between the Vodafone case and the Japanese company's case, and there are dissimilarities as well. The similarity is that, like in the Japanese company's case, Vodafone is also challenging the jurisdiction of the Revenue Department to impose a withholding tax obligation. The only difference is that in the Japanese company's case, there was no doubt about the taxability of the income. In Vodafone's case, there is doubt whether this income is liable to be taxed or not. Just to make sure that the principles articulated by the Supreme Court in the case of Japanese companies are not applied in Vodafone's case, they said that these principles will not apply.
Right, but Mukesh, what sort of a precedent does this ruling really set for foreign companies employing foreign staff in India, thereby rendering services in India and getting paid their salaries abroad?
There is no precedent because you have to determine the withholding tax obligation based on the fact whether a particular income is liable to be taxed or not. So if income is liable to be taxed, there is a withholding tax obligation. The only limited debate that was there in this case was just because the just because the salary was discharged overseas, could you impose a withholding tax obligation or not? So let's say, for instance, if you are a foreign company having establishment in India, you have staff in India, and you're paying salary to that staff, whether in India or in Japan, withholding tax obligations will equally apply.